The poor sisters came back on the boat, not a bother, and their clothes thankfully had dried in the rays of the warm sun. And nobody thought an iota about their exposure to the sun. So they all dressed themselves with lots of laughing and joking. And up on the top of the boat was a heap, and under the heap was Mother Abundancia snoring her heart out. At least she was happy and she didn't get any sun. But whilst all this is going on, Sister Marguerite decides to get them all to do a little sing-along, something to remind them of the old times. So they're all singing good Irish ballads like Danny Boy. I'm sure it was great. The crack was great. And then suddenly they hit a freak wave, and it threw them from one end of the boat to the other. Sure wasn't the big liner, the Queen Elizabeth, coming into the bay, and what they didn't account for was the turbulence from the propellers. Well, Jesus, the boat was being thrown right, left and centre, and all of a sudden everybody's been sick. So the captain of the boat decides to put out full throttle and get them back to shore quickly. And they arrived grand, but it was more like a fleet of ambulances taking them back to the monastery. And poor Mother Abundancia, she'd to be helped off the boat by the local Gardaí, that's the police, and taken on a stretcher back to the monastery. And the only poor person at home was Sister Hiatus. And she thought, how am I going to cope with this? The infirmary is bursting to the flowing. Sure, we've only got 18 beds in it, and there's 24 casualties. What am I going to do with the others? She thought, right, they can sleep in the kitchen because it's warm from the Aga oven. So anyway, she gets them all comfortable and she's running up and down them stairs, lathering her stockings and wondering what the hell's going to happen next. They're throwing up, they're aching, they're screaming with sunburn. Sunburn. So Sister Hiatus said to this other one, called Jacinta of Limerick, she said, how come you're burnt all over, sister? You should have only been burnt on your hands and your face and your feet. I can't understand why all of you are covered from head to toe in sunburn. What did you do? Sister Marguerite said, well, sister, we've got a confession. We did something really wicked, but it was lovely. What was that, sister? She said, it lashed from the heavens. It did. And Brother Dorothy came up with a great suggestion. If we're going to be wet, we might as well be wet in the sea as wet on dry land. Well, that makes sense, sister. So Sister Marguerite said, we didn't even think about it. We just all went in starkers. And we didn't think anything of being Adam and Eve. But we'd great crack. We had a ball, you know, and we were throwing the ball, and there was such excitement. Oh, Jesus, it was great. And we did that for a few hours, and we forgot all about the sandwiches because they were wet through. Where was Mother? Well, sister, I hate to tell you, but Mother was bladdered. She was what? She was drunk as a skunk. I gave her too much whiskey because she was seasick. Oh, Mother of God, Mother Abundancia, drunk. Well, no, she didn't do it on purpose. I did it to shut her up from moaning and whinging. All her airs and graces. I mean, it's all a front. It's all a front. But anyway. But why are you all burnt from head to toe? We were starkers, sister. We took all our clothes off. And you were exposing yourself, but you couldn't see anything because we were up to our neck in water. But it was so free, sister. We were liberated. Oh, Jesus, Mary and Joseph, it was to die for. Then when we came out, well, I tell you, I didn't know where to look. Some of the sisters had huge bodies, enormous bodies and curvatures. Jesus, Mary and Joseph, it was wicked. Well, I won't mention anything about the brothers because I didn't look. I got me clothes on me. And then not long after that, the boat came, we got on it. And it wasn't until now that we started realising how painful it all was. Sure, we've been burnt to a crisp, you can say that again. And we've run out of calamine lotion. Oh, sister, what are we going to do? Well, the only thing I can think of is go to the laundry and get those old sheets and soak them in cold water from the spring. And let's wrap them round everybody to keep them cool from screaming. Jesus, sister, that's great. Why didn't I think of that? Oh, marvellous. But there's only one problem. The heat of the sunburn will make the sheets dry out quicker. Not with what I've got in mind, sister. What's that? Buckets of cold water. We can throw buckets of cold water on them and shut them up. Oh, sister, you can't do that. Why not? Try me. I'm going to do it now. Well, sister, wouldn't it be more economical with the water from the spring to use a hose? Oh, sister, I never thought. A hose? Sure, the water is ice cold. Right, you're on. So they connected the hose to the wasset, turned the tap on full, and they sprayed the lot of them every hour. It did the trick. So on that note, the two sisters went and had a rest. Following morning, they were limping, they were ouching, they were aching, they were grumbling. They were all in chapel for morning lauds. And I tell you now, you had never seen a sight like it. Talk about sorrowful wounds of the precious Christ. Well, I tell you, it held slap it up them, said sister. Held slap it up you. For going starkers, you've been punished by God. We don't hear any more of that. And there in the corner was Mother Abundancia with her head on her hands, holding her head, as if it was exploding. So Sister Marguerite went up and she said, Mother Abundancia, are you all right? Oh, sister, she said, I've no idea what happened to me yesterday. I feel as if my head's exploding. Have you got any aspirin? She said, hold on a minute. So she pulled up her habit and she has a little hidden pocket on the leg of her drawers. And out came the aspirin and she gave her 2 aspirin. Sister swallowed them. And within a matter of minutes, Mother Abundancia was back to her normal self. So you'll never guess what was said next. Elsie Annette of Yorkshire, her in the rainbow colours, she said, it's a shame that we don't give her another top-up of the whiskey and shut her up. She's an awful woman. There's no joy in her at all. She's more about ritual, rules and regulations. God help us for the next 6 months on probation. Mother Abundancia speaks. Sisters, let us pray the prayer of Lauds. So Sister Periwinkle gets on the organ and she gives it full throttle. And everybody goes, oh my God, she's at it again. But anyway, Periwinkle, nimble as anything with them fingers, she played the Gregorian chant beautifully. And the new postules were all going, what? They didn't understand a word of it because it was in Latin. But the senior novices and the professor monastics were singing joyfully, even though they were aching. But they did it to show Mother Abundancia that they loved her. Well, sort of. But there you have it. So after Lauds, the sisters walked down, with the brothers of course, in seniority down this beautiful winding staircase into the refectory, where they stood at their appointed places, with Mistress of Novices, of course, Sister Olivia, and the Assistant Mistress of Novices, Sister Teresina. And then the seniors worked their ways right down to the junior. And at the very, very end of the postulants, we had Susceptor of Florence. Oh, and opposite her was Vomiticus Maria. And then the bell went. Mother Abundancia rang the bell. And in came Sister Marguerite with the trolley. And all these big bowls of porridge. Good, wholesome porridge. And she places the tureen in front of different sisters and they all helped themselves. And they all got stuck into their porridge. And you could hear Sister Windy as, oh, she was burping and belting. And Sister Hiatus, she didn't stop from the start to finish. And that's not forgetting Sister Theoticus. She just looked at the porridge and thought, my God, it's like Polyphilla. I couldn't have that. Well, of course, Sister Mary Virginata said, Sister, you eat it or you starve. And Sister Polycarp agreed with her. So on that note, they finished their breakfast. Oh, I forgot to mention, of course, Sister Pilatus was reading the Lives of the Saints at breakfast. And there was a deadly hush. The cloister had returned to some form of normality.